Hello everyone, it's Sunday again, which is our MakeCode Arcade time. If you were with us last week, we talked about Chapter 1, which is the introduction of MakeCode Arcade. In case you missed the video, you can always check it out in the link that we leave in the comment. You can access the recorded versions of the Chapter 1 video. My name is Jane. Today's session, we will talk about how to create characters using Sprite. So last week, we showed you that Sprite is any object that has characteristic, making up everything from player control character to props that support your game. To make things simpler, you can understand Sprite is everything on your screen, except the background, which does not move. Before we start today's session, let's take a look at the topics that we will cover today. First, we will explain what is a sprite. Then we will show you how to create a sprite and how to interact with the sprite that you created. And lastly, we will show you how to download your game or the code to the console. So what is a sprite? Let's take a look at a couple examples that we have here. This is a screen from the Super Mario game. So on this screen, there are multiple sprites on it. So the first sprite that I would like to show you is this Super Mario character. This is a player sprite that you can control. Then we also have an enemy sprites here. Other than that, we also have coin sprites, which you can collect. Then we also have two sprites here. These are the cloud that's moving in the sky. So all these four types of characters or objects are the example of sprites that we have in this screen. Moving on, we have another example here. This is a Nintendo DS tennis game. So if you take a look at this screen, we have one sprite here. This is player 1 sprites. Then you have another sprite here that can be a player 2, meaning another player that you're playing with, or it can be a player that controlled by a computer. Then we have another sprite here, which is a judge. Then lastly, you have a tennis ball, which is also a sprite in this game. So basically, sprites can be a static object or a moving object. It is everything on the screen except the background that doesn't change. So how do we create sprite? So let's go back to your arcade. So I'm at arcade.makecode.com. Let's create a new project. Let's call this my first game. Hit create. So in order to create a sprite, we go to the sprite category. Okay, under the create, you can see that we have this block called set my sprite to. So this is the block that we'll need to create sprite. So drag this block and put it inside the onStart block. So now we still do not have anything on the screen because we have not assigned any image to this sprite. So in order to create an image for this sprite, let's go ahead and click on this green color oval. You can see that there's this green color oval with a small square in there. Click on it. It will bring up an editor. So this editor is where you can draw your character. Let me go through all the functions in this editor one by one. So this space over here is where you draw your character. It's like your drawing paper. And how you draw things on it is you can utilize this pencil or paint tool. You can just drag around, draw around by clicking around the mouse. Okay. And if you notice that right now I'm using a pink color pencil. To change the color, you can just choose any color from the palette over here. For instance, if I choose green, just click on it. Then now you can see that my pencil become green in color. Alright. And also, take a look at the top over here. There's 3 squares in different size. So this is actually the size of your cursor. So if I choose the medium size, you can see that my pen now or my pencil become bigger. And my square become bigger too. If you choose the largest one, let me choose a different color. Let's choose the blue one. You can see that my square become even bigger than the previous one. So these 3 squares is control the size of your pencil. Then the next one is eraser. So this is to erase things that you have drawn. And of course, I choose the very big square so I can erase everything in one shot. If you choose the smaller one, your eraser becomes smaller too. Alright, so if you want to erase it faster, you can choose the bigger eraser. Okay, now to draw things on this canvas, let me choose the smaller square. And I can draw on it again. Alright, so we have pencil and eraser. The next one is this rectangle tool. Rectangle is to help us to create any size of rectangle on this canvas. Let me choose a different color. Let's say orange. And let me choose a location where I want to start to draw my rectangle. For instance, here, I just click on it and drag my mouse. Don't let go your click. Hold your click until you get the size that you want, then you let go your click. So now you have one rectangle here. Let me draw another one here, and maybe a square. Okay, this is good. Then I let go my mouse. Okay, so this is a rectangle tool. Then the next one is a fill tool. Fill will help to fill the area within the boundary according to the color that you have selected. So now we are having an orange color here. So let's choose maybe a red color. And we can fill this whole area here within this boundary to red color. So within this area, just click on it. It will fill it up with red color. So let me choose another one. For instance, here there's a small boundary here. So let's see. Let me choose it to change it to light blue. And if you place your fill tool here, see where my cursor at? It will fill this area to light blue. Okay. It will fill everything within the closed boundary. So let me choose a yellow one and fill this part to become yellow. So click on it, it will fill everything within this area, become yellow. Alright, and of course if I try to fill something outside here, this area outside here, it will fill the whole area become green. Alright. The next one is the circle tool. This is to help you to draw a circle. Let me choose a black one. Oops. It started from the middle of the circle, so let me just start somewhere here. You can see that as I move bigger, you can see the circle better. So this is a circle tool. The next one is a line tool. So before I draw more things on my canvas, let me erase stuff for my screen. I'm choosing a bigger cursor and using the erase tool to erase everything from my screen. Okay, so go back to the line tool. So this is to help you to draw a straight line, so you don't have to use the pencil because our hands might be shaky as you draw a pencil. It will not be straight. So we can utilize a line tool to help us to draw a straight line. Okay, I'm going to try that one more time. So click on the place where you want to start the line. Click on it. Don't let go. Just keep dragging. Even if you drag downwards, it's okay too. You can just go all the way back up as long as you don't let go your mouse. Okay, once you're happy with your line, just let it go. Then you have one straight line. So this is the use of the line tool. Then the next one is marquee. Marquee is help you to select an area that you want to move. So for instance, if I want to move this particular area to the right side, I can just use the marquee tool. Let me do that one more time. Click on the place where you want to start to highlight and drag it. Let go. So now you have selected this area and you can see that my cursor become a hand tool. So you just click on it again and move it around. Okay, so you can move the area that you have selected to another location. So that's the use of marquee. And then the next one is pen tool. Pen tool is similar to what you have on your workspace. Is to help you to move around the area that the canvas that you have easily. Okay, you can move downward, move outward. So it's just to help you to position your drawing canvas on your screen. Okay, so these are the tools that are available to you for you to draw things on your canvas. Then down here, you can see that there's 16s and 16s. This is the size of your canvas. So this is to draw a sprite for your character, right? And the size of your sprite right now is 16 times 16, meaning 16 wide and 16 tall. So if I change it to something smaller, your sprite will become, the area that you can draw a sprite will become smaller. And then when it shows up on your screen, it will become smaller too. So if you want a bigger sprite, you can choose a bigger value, change it to 30 wide and 30 height, for instance. Okay, so you can see that now your canvas become bigger. You have more space to draw your sprites. Alright, so this is to control the size of your sprite. And on the right hand side here, can you recognize these two buttons? This curly arrow button. So this is undo. So for the things that I have done, you can just reverse the steps by clicking the undo. So if I hit undo, it will reset my size back to where it was previously. So I think at the very beginning, our size was 16 times 16. And I have also moved this part of the canvas, right? So if you hit undo, it will go back to where it was previously. And if you hit the one on the right side, the redo, it will go back to the changes that you make. Okay. Next is you have zoom, zoom out, and zoom in. Okay. Once you're happy with your drawing, you can just hit done. So for now, we are creating the first sprites for our game. So let me draw a stick man for my game. Let me clear everything from my screen. Okay, I'm using the erase tool to erase everything from my screen. Then I'm gonna use the pencil and using the smallest cursor to draw my character. Let me choose the black color. Let me start by drawing a head for my character. So I'm drawing a, oops, let me undo. I'm gonna draw a circle, a symmetric circle for the head, and then I have a body, and then this will be the leg for my character. Then let me add a pair of hands, one down, one go upward, and maybe a little higher here. Oops. Let me look like that. Okay, I have my stickman now. Let me add a little bit more. I'm gonna add a pair of eyes, and how about maybe a shirt as well. Let me do a red color shirt. I'm gonna use the rectangle tool and draw a little rectangle here, and then use the fill tool to fill out the middle parts. Okay, so I have this stickman wearing a red color shirt. Okay, so once I'm happy with it, just hit done. Okay, so wait for the simulator to refresh. We can't see anything because the background is black in color. So let's change the background to green. So how to do that is go to the scene category, and you see this set background color. So just drag it and drop it inside my unstart block and choose a color that is green. Alright, so now you can see my character. Oh, how about we add some color to the face as well? So let me click on my character once more, and then let me choose the fill tool to fill my face with this beige color here. So click on the middle. Okay, now I have a face. So let me hit down again. Let's see. Okay, so now my character has a face and a body with a red color shirts. And if you notice something on the simulator, as you click around the directional button, your character doesn't move. Okay, so in order to make your character move, we need to go to the controller to drag the move my sprite with button under the single player. Okay, so just drag it and drop it here. Okay, so now I have my sprite on my simulator, and if you try to control it, now your character can move. Okay, so this is your player character. And one more thing, everybody in this world has a name, right? Right, my name is Jean, and you have a name too. So why not we give this character a proper name? Right now this sprite is having a name called my sprite, so that's not quite a proper name, so let's give it a name. So to do that, just click on the triangle icon here, just click on it and select rename variable. Click on the rename variable. Now you can give this character a name. So let's name it direct and hit OK. Okay, so now my character has a name called direct, and direct looks like this, and it is a kind of player. Okay, and I also set the background color to green, and I tell the computer to let me to move direct with buttons. So on the simulator you can now move direct with buttons. Alright, so next, can we create a second character? So let's say we create a mother character. So let's go to the sprites again. To create a new character, just drag the set my sprite block inside my onset block, and let me rename my sprite to mommy. Hit OK. Alright, so now let's draw an image for your mother. So if you take a look at the canvas size, it says 16 times 16, so 16 wide and 16 high. So for my mother character, I would like her to be taller and bigger, so we need to increase the size for this canvas. To make the size of the canvas to be bigger, let's change the value 16 to 30 and the height to be 30 as well. So hit enter. So now you can see that my canvas size become bigger. I have more area to draw the mother character. So I'm going back to my pencil tool and let's choose black. Let's start drawing. Again, I'm gonna start by drawing a hat. Whoops. Let me draw it one more time. Let me just draw the hat. The hair. Let me touch up a little bit. Okay. Alright. Maybe a little lower. Okay. Okay, this is a better shape. Then let's draw a pair of eyes. So mother has a bigger eye, so I'm gonna use 4 square. Oops, I think a little bit too high. So let's move the eyes down a bit by using the marquee tool. So I'm gonna select the parts that I want to move and drag it down somewhere here. Okay. Alright, then let me add a body for my mother. I'm gonna draw it downwards, and then I can draw a pink color shirt for mother. Okay, let me fill up the meter, and then I'm gonna draw a skirt using the line tool to draw a little triangle. See, okay, going back to my brush, let me fix up a little bit, and then using the fill tool one more time to fill up the skirt to be orange color. And then now I can continue to draw my hands, maybe going downwards, so let's draw the hand downward, something like that. Then I have legs. Then let me change a different color for shoes. Okay, my mother is wearing a pair of red color shoes. Okay, one more thing, let me add a smiley face to my mother as well. Okay, alright, so that should be it. Okay, now let's add a skin color to the face so we can see her face on the screen. I choose the skin color, so just fill up the face area. Now we can see her face better. Okay. Okay, and then hit done. Alright, so your mother is on the screen now, and you can move around your mother using your player character here. Okay, and then we have mommy with this image. Let's change a kind. This is not a player kind, so let's create a new kind for mother. Let's add a new kind and call this kind parent. Hit OK. Okay, player is the type of sprites that you can control. This is the main character that you control in your game. So for other character, we need to create a different kind of the sprite. So in this case, I created a kind called parent for my mother sprite. Okay, so if you notice one more thing, as I refresh, you can see that my mother is at the center location. It's overlapping with my character. So can we move the mother to a different location in the screen, maybe somewhere over here to the right? But what is this location? How do we ask the computer to move your mother to this location whenever you refresh the game? How do we do that? So in order to understand how the position works in the screen, let's take a look at the slides again. So let's learn how to position your sprite. So before we learn how to position a sprite on the screen, let's take a look, how do we measure things first? So how do we measure things? Like how you measure your height. If you go see a doctor, the doctor might take a measurement on your height, and the measurement normally is in cm. They will tell you that, hey, you are 120 cm tall. So cm is a type of measurements. cm stands for centimeter. That's what we use over here in Malaysia to measure our height. In some country, you might be using a different measurement system. For instance, in United States, you might be using inch or feet to measure the height. So this is how we measure a human height. Another example here is a room. So how do you measure the size of the room? You measure it by the length of the room and also the width of another side of the room. So for instance, in this case, the room might be 300 centimeter long, and the width might be 400 cm wide, which is a centimeter. Okay. Now, going back to our simulator early on, the screen that we have. So how do we measure the size of the screen? So we have a width here, and then we also have a height. Instead of using cm, which is a centimeter, when we measure the screen on a computer, we use a unit measure called pixel. So we don't use centimeter, we use pixel. The short form of pixel is called px. Okay, so whenever you see px, it means pixel. So in this case, the screen over here, the width of this screen that we have on our arcades is 160 pixels wide. Okay, so you see the red line here. So the width of this screen is 160 pixels wide. How about the height? So the screen is 120 pixels high. Okay, so remember that the width of the screen is 160 pixels and the height is 120 pixels high. Now you have learned how to measure the size of your screen. So the next question is, how do you know the position of the sprites? So do you know what is the position of the sprite? So we learned that the screen width is 160 pixels and then the height is 120 pixels. So we can identify the location or the position of the sprite and correlate to the size of the screen. So imagine this screen, you have two rulers. Put the two rulers on it. On top here, the red color lines over here, you have 0 start from the left side. As you move towards the right side, the value gets bigger. So this is 0, and then 20, 40, 60, 80, and all the way to 160. So this line over here, this horizontal line, we can call it as x-axis or just x. Then for the height, we have 120 pixels high, and starting from the top here is 0. And you slowly move downwards, you have 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 80, say 70, 80, 90, 100, all the way to 120 at the bottom here. So this blue line here is called as y-axis or y. Okay, so you have a horizontal line represent the width of the screen, which is x, and then you have a vertical line here in blue, which represented by y. So the position of the sprite is identified by the locations on the x and y. So what I mean by that is, you can imagine you draw a line from this sprite all the way to the x-axis on the top. You can see that it hits number 40. Okay, so this is 40, and then on the y is 60. Okay, so therefore we can say that this sprite is located at x equals to 40 and y equals to 60. So the location or the position of the sprite is identified by the location with the x and y. Another example, so this sprite, it was here and then now it's here. So what is the position of this sprite? So let's draw a line all the way up. X is 100 and the other line to the y-axis, y is 60. Okay, so the position of my sprite is x equals to 100 and y equals to 60. Okay, now let's pick another example. Now the sprite is located at the bottom of the screen here. So what is the position of this sprite? This sprite is located at x equals to 100 and y equals to 100. How about this one? What is the x and y value for this position? The x is 140 and the y is 100. Okay, so if you notice something, for the x-axis, the bigger the x value, the more right the sprite is going to be located. So if your sprite is at x equals to 140, it's actually on the right side of the screen. If your sprite is located at x equals to 20, it will be somewhere around here on the left side. So the smaller the number for x value, the more towards to the left side the sprite is going to be at. So the bigger the x value is, for instance 160, then the sprite will be on the right hand side. Okay, of course, if x equals to 80, it will be at the middle of the screen. Okay, similarly to the y-axis, the bigger the value, the lower the sprite is going to be located. So right now the sprite is at y equals to 100, is somewhere at the bottom here. If y is equals to 20, to something smaller, it will be on top here. Okay, so for the y value, the smaller the number, the higher the sprite is going to be located. The bigger the y value, the lower the sprite is going to be located. Alright, so we are using the x and y value to tell the computer where you want to position the sprite. Okay, so in MakeCode Arcade, this is how you tell the computer, or how you tell the code to position your sprite. So I want to position my sprite at this location at x equals to 140 and y equals to 100. So therefore, I have this block and set the position to x equals to 140 and y equals to 100. So going back to my code editor, okay, so I have my mother right now at the middle of the screen because I didn't set the position. By default, it will appear at the middle of the screen. So let's set my mother character to be on the right hand side over here. So in order to do that, we go to the sprites category one more time. There's this block say set my sprite position to x and y. So this is how we tell the computer where you want to place your sprite. So drag this block out into the onStart block. So inside this set my sprite position block, remember to change the sprite's name to Mommy. So click on it and select Mommy. So now you are setting the position of Mommy to x equals to 0, y equals to 0. So it's actually located at the top left hand side over here on the screen. So to bring her down over here, we need to increase the X value to something bigger so that it will move to the right. So let's do that. So let's increase 0 to 100. So as a refresh, you can see that Mommy is on the right side now, but we can't really see her because Y is 0. So let's increase the Y value so that we can bring her downwards over here at the center of the screens. So at the center will be Y equals to 60 because the height is 120, so midway 2 will be 60. So now you can see that Mommy is appear on the right side of my character. Okay, so instead of key in the value manually like this on X and Y, you can also utilize a tool. Just click on it. You can see that this little tool here can help you to position the sprite anywhere in the screen. So for instance, if I want this character to appear on the bottom left over here, I can just click on it and automatically the X and Y value will be updated according to where I click. So my character will appear on the bottom left. So in our case, we would like to bring her back on the right hand side. So we can click on the value. You can see that this tool pops up. So I can just select somewhere around here at the middle of the screen towards the right side. So click on it. You can see that the X and Y value is being updated automatically again. And now my character is on the right side. Okay, so can we create a third character, a daddy character, and also set his position to be somewhere around here? So to create a new character, we need to bring out the create block, create my sprite block to my onStart, and let's name this character Daddy. Okay, and let's draw a picture or an image for Daddy. So I'm gonna increase my canvas size from 60 to 30 so that I can draw a bigger character. Okay, so let's go ahead and use a pencil to draw the Daddy. I'm gonna draw the head a little bit slanted so that it looks like this character is looking towards to the left side. Okay, you can see that the head is kind of looking towards to the left side. And then let me draw a blue shirt. I'm gonna draw a blue rectangle and fill it up. Then let me draw a brown pen using a rectangle too. Then let me just fill it up. How about let me join them up? Let me just use the marquee tool, select the brown pen and move it up. Okay, now we can, maybe I should draw bigger shirts, maybe somewhere like this, wider. Okay, and then let's draw legs and hands. I'm gonna draw legs somewhere like this, somewhere like this. Okay, and let me let Daddy wear a purple color shoe. Let me just do something like that. Okay, it looks weird when the shoes are joined together. Let me make the shoe smaller, and then I'm gonna draw hands. You can use a line tool to draw two hands. So one is looking sideways, so let me just draw it this way and this way. Okay, let me fill up the face with the skin color and hit done. Okay, so now I have my Daddy at the center of the screen again. So let's change the position for my Daddy. Let me just go ahead and drag the set my sprite position into my onStart block and change my sprite to Daddy. Okay, Daddy will be on the top left hand side, so let's move him down to somewhere on the left side here. So let me just position it somewhere around here. Or I can swap the position since Daddy is looking on the left side. So let me change Daddy to be looking on the right Mommy position will be on the left. Okay, so that daddy is looking at me. Okay, so you have learned how to set the position for your sprite by using the X value and Y value. So do you know that there is a proper name for XY position? So whenever we call a position by using an X and Y value, we call it a coordinate. So instead of saying what is the position of my sprite, I can actually ask what is the coordinate of my sprite. So if you hear that, whenever people mention coordinate, it means the X and Y value. Alright, so now that I have my 3 characters, I'm the middle one, the player. When I touches mommy or daddy, there's nothing happening. So how about if I add codes to my game to say that when I touches daddy or mommy, they will say a message like I love you. Okay, so to do that, go back to the sprites and drag out a block called overlaps. It means that when the sprites overlap with another sprite. So let me drag it out and put it outside. Okay, so if it's outside with an on block, it basically means that when something happened, you wanted to do something. So on the sprite of kind player, oh, just realized something, my daddy of a sprite is still a kind player, so it should be a parent. So let me change daddy to kind parent. So I have mommy, which is a kind parent, and daddy is also a kind parent. Okay, in my workspace now I say on sprite of kind player overlaps other sprite, which is a kind of parent. So I'm gonna get my parent to say I love you. So go to the sprites category, find a block that say my sprite say. Okay, so drag this block inside here. Okay, and say my sprite, instead of my sprite, drag this other sprite. You can see that over here in this block, it say on sprite of kind player overlaps other sprite of kind parent. So you can drag this other sprite and replace it over here. Okay, I'm going to do that one more time. Let me just undo that. Okay, click on this other sprite, click on it and drag it and drop it on top of this my sprite. So it will be when a sprite of kind player overlaps other sprite of kind parent, then the parent sprite will say a smiley face. Now let me change it to I love you. Okay, alright, let me drag this block that I don't need to the trash can. Okay, so let's try out your game. So now I'm moving around, and as I touches my mommy say I love you, and daddy as well. So it's working. It's saying on sprite of kind player overlaps other sprite, and then other sprite will say I love you. And if you notice something, the I love you stay there. So what if I want it to disappear after a while? There's a plus button here. Just click on it and just say other sprite say I love you for 500 milliseconds. So if you click on the 500 millisecond, you can choose 1 second as well. 500 millisecond means half a second. 1 second will be longer. 1 second will be 1000 millisecond. So in our case, I think 500 millisecond, which is a half a second, should be good enough. Okay. Let's see how it looks like now. So when I touches mommy say I love you for half a second. So the message is gone. And touches daddy say I love you too. Cool. We can also add some effect to it. So instead of just saying I love you, it can have some effect coming up from mommy. What it means by that, let's try it out. So just go to sprites category and choose something under the effects and say my sprite start spray effect. So drag this block and put it inside the on block, and on the other sprite here it has to be other sprite. So let me drag the other sprite in again. Let me throw away the block that I don't need. Okay, so when my player overlap the other sprite, which is a kind of parent, it will say I love you for half a second, and it will also start an effect. Right now it's a spray effect. We can change the effect to something else, like is there a heart effect? There you go. There's a heart effect. Okay, let's see what happened. So when I touches mommy, mommy is gonna give me a lot of hearts. And I touches daddy, daddy will give me a lot of hearts too. Okay, so right now the hearts is not stopping, so let's add the time for it. So let's start hearts effect for half a second. Okay, let's try it. Mommy give me hearts and daddy give me hearts too. Cool. Alright, so now I have a simple game where I can move my character around, and as it touches the other character, the other character will respond with a message and also will give you some effects. In this case, it's a bundle of hearts or love. Alright, so now besides my daddy and mommy, I have another pet as well. So can we create another sprite to represent my pet, which is a cat? So I'm gonna need another sprites block to create the cat image, and we can name this cat as Fluffy, which is the name of my cat. So to do that, I'm gonna create another sprite, drag it out from the sprite category, and inside set my sprite, I'm gonna rename this sprite to Fluffy, which is the name of my cat. Hit OK, and then inside the image, let me click on it. So instead of drawing out the cats, I can actually utilize the gallery over here. Okay, so click on the gallery, you can see that there is a list of image that you can choose from directly, so you don't have to draw every single thing. You can choose whatever that's available here and use it directly as well. Okay, so in my case, I want to have a cat image. Find this cat image over here. Let me just go ahead and click it. It will bring the cat image back into my editor. If you like this, you can go ahead and just hit done. It will load this image into the sprite. Or you can do more things to it or personalize it. For instance, I can change my cat from this brown or skin color to yellow color. Let me choose the fill tool. Let me fill up the face of this cat to be yellow, the body as well, and tail as well. Okay, so now my cat is in yellow color. Then I can hit done. Alright, so you have Fluffy at the middle of the screen of kind player. Fluffy is not a kind of player, so let me change it to is not parent as well. So let me add a new kind, and this new kind I'm gonna call it a pet. Okay, hit OK. Alright, so now I'm gonna set the position so that my cat will appear on the bottom, maybe somewhere around here, bottom right. So I'm gonna set my sprite, which is a Fluffy, to position somewhere at the bottom of the screen here. Okay. Alright, so my cat is here. My screen is getting crowded, so let me move things around. Let me move this on block. Let me just click at the edge here. You can see that my on block is being highlighted. Now I can drag the whole thing and move it to the side. Okay, so that they don't overlap each other, else it will be too messy to manage. Okay, so what am I gonna do with the cat? So instead of having the cat to stay there, let me let the cat to follow me wherever I go. I can go back to the sprites category and choose this block that says set my enemy follow my sprite. Let me drag it down. Of course, in this case, Fluffy is not my enemies. So I just go ahead and change it to Fluffy, set Fluffy follow Derek, which is my player. And let's see what happened. Oops, okay. The cat is chasing after me. It's actually moving very fast. Okay, so let me change the speed of my Fluffy. Let's make it slower. So click on the plus sign and change the speed 100 down to maybe 30. Okay, and let's see how it goes. Okay, now it's better. is slower, so I can see that it's moving and it's chasing after me. Okay, and as I run around and it touches daddy, they say I love you. When I passing through mommy, mommy say I love you too. Cool. The cat is non-stop chasing after me. So let me change the story a little bit. Let me let Fluffy to stop chasing me whenever Fluffy touches me, or whenever Fluffy catches me. So when it touches me, I want Fluffy to stop chasing me. So how do we do that? I'm gonna go back to the Sprites category and get the on block again. I'm gonna drag it to my empty space here. Let me pan my screen to the side a bit. Case, I'm gonna say on sprite of kind pets, which is Fluffy, overlaps other sprite of kind player. Okay, so when a sprite that's kind of pet touches a player, I want the cat to stop following me. So I can do that by changing the speed to 0. Let me duplicate this block, this follow block, right click and duplicate it and drag it into my on block. Okay, so now it says set Fluffy follow direct with speed. Let's change it to 0. Okay, so now as I move around and Fluffy touches me, so now Fluffy will stop chasing me because the speed has changed to 0. Okay, and if you notice one thing, over here I actually say set Fluffy follow direct. I can also say, let me drag this on sprite here. Instead of Fluffy, I just say set sprite of kind pets overlaps other sprite of kind player. So direct is also a sprite that's a kind of player. So I can also use this other sprite instead of direct. Okay, what it means is, let's say if I have more than one pet, let's say I have another dog, which is a kind of pet as well, and I call this dog Doggy. So if I have Fluffy and Doggy as my pet, and I want both of them to stop following me, so I can't just say Fluffy here. So what I have previously was Fluffy. So imagine if I have dog as well, and you just say set Fluffy follow direct. So what about Doggy, right? If you have more than one pet, so which is why we need to use an on sprite here, because this on sprite can be Fluffy or Doggy, because it says sprite of kind pets. So it can be any sprite as long as it's a kind of pet. So it's better that we utilize this block here and replacing the Fluffy. So we're gonna say set the sprite, which is a kind of pet, to follow direct with speed 0. And of course, direct is a kind of player, so we can keep it that way, or we can also use this other sprite, because this other sprite is a kind of player, so we can drag it and drop it in here as well. Okay, so let me delete the block that I don't need. You can see that there's some gray color block. These are the block that's not being used in the code. You can leave it on the workspace, or you can clean it up by deleting them. Alright, so now I have Fluffy chasing after me, and when it touches me, it will stop moving. And of course I can let cat to say something when it touches me. Let's say meow maybe. Let me just go ahead and grab another block. Let's say my sprite say, drag it and drop it here. So my sprite in this case is a kind of pet, so let me just drag this sprite, overlap it with it, replacing the block. So sprite say meow, so change the text to meow. Okay, so when Fluffy touches me, it says meow, and then it also stopped chasing after me. Oh, then we can change the seconds to 5 milliseconds. Okay, so when Fluffy touches me, it says meow for half a second. I'd like to show you one thing. So you can see that my character, as I move around the screen, it can actually go out of the screen. As you can see that if I keep going right, it will go off the screen. It's basically disappeared from the screen. So how do I prevent my character from moving out of the screen? There's another block that we can use. It's also under Sprites category. Click on it and look for a block that says set my sprite stay in screen. Okay, drag it into my onStart block. Let me drag this around a bit. Okay, highlight the whole block, drag it inside the onStart block. So set my player, which is direct, set direct to stay in screen, and toggle this off to on. Okay, make sure you switch on. So set direct, stay in screen. So if you look at my simulator one more time, you can see that as I keep pressing left, it won't go out of the screen anymore. Alright, so that is pretty much some basic things that you need to learn about sprites under the sprites category. Okay, let's download the code that you have created to your console. So there is a download button here at the bottom left. Click on it, and remember to scroll all the way down and look for this purple color tile that says F4. Okay, click on this F4, and it should prompt you to save your game to your computer first. Okay, so the prompt comes up and you can see that there's a file that say Arcade My First Game, which is the name of your project, .uf2. So we need to save it to my computer first, so I just hit Save File and choose a location. It can be anywhere in your computer as long as you remember where you saved the file at. So in my case, I will just put it under my desktop. Alright, so now let's take a look at my console. Right here, I have my arcade console, and I connect it with the micro USB cable to my computer. So let's turn on the console. There's a power button here. Let's slide it. Okay, so the moment I turn it on, you can see that the screen is showing the F4, which is in data transfer mode. If yours is not showing an F4, you can hit the reset button over here, the red color button. If you reset it, it will change it back to the gaming mode. This is the game that we created last week. And then click it one more time, it will switch it back to the data transfer mode. Okay, so once you have this purple color screen on your console, you see that at the same time on your computer, you have this folder pops up. Let me minimize this. Okay, so this is the folder in your console. So let's copy the game that we have on our desktop to this folder. This is the file that we downloaded, Arcade My First Game .uf2. Okay, right click and copy it and paste it. So as soon as the copy has completed, you can see that the game is now on my console. Okay. So before we end today's session, let's do a recap of what we learned today. So the first thing is we learned what is a sprite. So a sprite is an object that has characteristic, and normally it's everything that you can see on the screen except the background. Then how do you create a sprite? It involves a couple steps. So first you drag and drop the create sprite block into your onStart block. Then you give it a name. And then you draw out the image, or you select an image from the gallery. And at the end, you define the kind of the sprite. So for today, we actually created 3 kinds of sprite. We have the player kind, we have the parent kind, and at the end, we have the pet kind. Which one control the horizontal position, or left or right, for the sprite? Is it x-axis or y-axis? So which one control the horizontal position? That will be x value. So the bigger the y value, the higher or lower the sprite is at. So the bigger the y value, the lower the sprite is gonna be located. How do you instruct computer to react when something happens? So this means, how do you tell the computer to perform certain action when certain event happen? In our example earlier on, we have an event that the player touches the parents. So whenever the player touches the parents, you want the computer to ask the parent to say I love you. And another example is the cat. So when the cat catches me, I want the cat to stop chasing me. So these are the two when events that we added into our code. In order to do that in MakeCode, we use the on block. So for example, we want when sprite touches another kind of sprite. So we use this on block, means that the block looks like this, which is in this shape, start with on. So on, sprite of kind player overlaps other sprite of kind parent. So this means when this incident or when this event happen, perform anything that is inside this block. So in our example is on sprite of kind player overlaps other sprite of kind parents, we ask the parent to say I love you. So we place the block to say I love you inside this on block. Alright, so you have learned how to create sprites. So why don't you build your own as well? Can you create your own characters for your family and friends? I would like to see the versions or the story that you have created. So if you would like to share your project or your game with us about the characters that you have created, you can do so by going to the editor, and there's a share button here. Hit on the share and publish project. So wait for it, and then you will have this URL or this link. So your project is ready, you can use the address below to share your projects. So copy this address and share it with us. You can share with us by leaving a comment in this video. So that's all for today. So next session is gonna be on coming Sunday, same time 2 p.m. in Malaysia, and we will show you how to add background to your game. See you next week. Bye.